Maybe a little less than halfway done on this job of putting in a hardwood floor in an upstairs attic area that I had. In this case, 3 different woods that I'm working with. I had some leftover cherry here, which are these lighter boards. And then I have this African, it's like a mahogany type wood that's a little bit harder than red oak. The cherry's a little harder too, I think. Wood, which is super hard. The only problem is I was limited on the amount of that I had. And also I use that for stairways and along places where foot traffic is especially high. I kind of made a mistake of mixing in too much of this at the beginning of the job, maybe, as I was alternating an even pattern of the African stuff with the Brazilian redwood, as you can see here. Then later on I realized I was kind of running low on that stuff, so I started substituting the cherry, which is the least desirable wood. It's lighter. Eventually the cherry will turn black though, and so it should blend in pretty good. Then I realized I was really short, so now we've got a pattern of alternating every 3 or 4. I'll put in the hard stuff. So that gives, like if you're walking across it, your foot always hits the hard stuff somehow, and that'll help to keep the whole floor harder. Okay, I'm spreading the load. Guys, they use the rosin papers, tried true traditional technique. But I live in here in California. We don't really worry about moisture under the boards per se, but we do worry about moisture coming from outside or from the inside going out. So condensation type stuff. So what I use is the plastic. It's cheaper and it's waterproof. Now, in order to put it down, to make it so it doesn't move around too much, I use this down, and it's nice and smooth and everything to work with. I'll give you another shot of this job later as I approach the stairwell. Right now, we're just trying to clear out. We got one closet done. We're putting junk. We have to move. There's a tight space. I have to move the junk from one side of the room to the other as I do the job, and I just got finished doing that now. I'm in a situation where I might as well show you me in action. I put a board, a short board down at the end down there. I always try to get rid of whatever leftover pieces have been cut off and stuff as much as I can, so I have a good inventory of full-length boards. Then I put in this longer board in, and then I'll put in a piece here. Now, the first thing I got to do is finish nailing in this long board, which on close inspection seems to still have a crack or two. Now, back east, they worry about expansion and contraction more than we do here in California because they have the humidity. What I'm worried about mostly is having cracks from just contraction of the wood as time goes on. So I'm more interested in pounding these in tight as possible. I'll finish them off later and try to stabilize them that way. Now I see a crack, or I see a place where I can nail in right here. And then I'll get a good pounding there. Okay, then a partial thing there, and for good luck, a partial one there. Okay, so now these little partial ones need to be cut off, remember? So I'll get that tool and cut these off. Keep the little metal shards in my hand to throw away. All right, so so as not to bore you, I'm going to go ahead and board. It looks a little short, doesn't it? That's not good enough. This is an open, this is a groove here and groove that doesn't match. So I'm going to have to go ahead and cut off a new board. First I want to look for where the tongue is, and then what I'll do is I'll flip it over on its back to get myself a cut underneath. It's pretty easy because I'm getting into a place now where fitting it on the other side is not too much difficulty. So I cut this off. And be careful with this saw always. The tongue on this side, the groove on this side. I want to double check my placement. Looks like I got to do a little bit. Well, maybe I can get it in there. Let me see here. Yeah, it looks like I can get that in. So I'll take. Now these boards are always a little bit. These boards have been sitting in my house for a long time. So, also I see a problem over here. Sometimes there's an edge of a board. You want everything to run flat. So I'm going to come back over here and fit that in there like that. Give me an idea of what we got going here. And we're going to cut off this side here. Kind of a little bit of a rise in that corner right there. I don't want anything. I want the board to be flat. So. Now, let's see. We can lift that plastic up a little bit. I want to be very careful to make sure that this is on as best as it can be on that end. This end nobody sees because it's next to the wall, but alright, let's see here. This board is particularly bendy, and on this end I'm gonna have to also a situation where alright. Sometimes they're a little less forgiving than others. I'm going to put this side in first since it seems to want to be a little more stubborn. Then we'll drive it in slightly on this end. And get it right in there like so. And then tap that baby in there now. Let's get over here and hold that down. Alright, now that's not the end of it. We're going to take this baby and tap it in, make sure it's tight. And I use the back end, the hard part, against the board so it doesn't bounce. Hey, that's good. Yeah, that's a beautiful sound. It wants to pull off on one side. So in order to stop that problem, we'll just get over here and put in a nail. Here and here. Then we'll get back into business with this thing. And put in another nail. Here and here. because of the way the radiant floor tubing tends to go down the center of the space, I could have, you know, a little bit of space on both sides of the joist to work with. So I've been putting 2 nails in. Sometimes I put it straight into the joist because these nails do go through, and that gives me an extra thing to work with. I also notice right here I've got an intersection going across this way, which I can take advantage of. Let's see, how much of an advantage do I want to take? I don't know, but I'll get over the set here. Here comes a hard swing. It won't be perfect. I'll probably have to cut off the staple. Pretty close, not bad. Okay, now we're going to put one more over here. This one has to be a partial, but there's that split right here. So I want to put in at least something like that to hold that in. The tongue holds it, and then there's another staple right here. These spares here, and this one here. The other one looks like it can be finished off with pounding, so that's good there. Then I get over here on this end, and there you go. Then just for good measures, angle one in. Like that. Alright, that way you've got it tied in on the ends. The diagonal design like this has some huge advantage for a wood frame house. I have the plywood going perpendicular and longitudinally with the main trusses of the house and the walls and so forth. We're on the 2nd floor, so anything up here is very important. California is a seismic activity place. Any kind of shaking or anything could mean probably cracked stucco and so forth on the outside of the house, but it could also mean problems for the house in general. So by putting the flooring at an angle, at a diagonal like this, it strengthens the flooring overall and supports between the trusses, believe it or not. This is all nailed down tight, so we had a 3/4 inch to 1 inch subflooring. Then we've got this 3/4 inch solid hardwood on top of it, and at a diagonal. So that adds, we have a good almost 2 inches of material spanning this way, of course, tied to each of the joists all the way along at 16-inch on center intervals. So that way, much more so than the subflooring material by weight. Truss member right here that ties into, incidentally, to another truss member of this size on the other side. So any rocking and rolling will be at least stopped at this level. Now what I need to do is take my finishing punch here and punch this off. These staples are a little harder to get in than the finishing nail. We're going to see what we can do with this bit of chunked off one here. There we go. That one went in very nice. Then I'll get this one out of the way so I can get to work in here. This one's not so forgiving, so I bend it down in, get it out of the way.